I can get through a whole night without using you now. Came up on the other side of it, sweet Lord, Jesus only knows how. I had you in my pocket long enough to wear it clean on through. I had enough time away to see that I'm better off living without you, but now I'm free. Free as I want to be.
Oh, yeah. Go on, Hillary. Sing it. You are listening to hONEyhoUSe's early album, Sun. That's a song off that album called Free. And it features Mr. Chris Draco playing some slide guitar on there. hONEyhoUSe is comprised of Mandy Buchanan singing background vocals there, Miss Yvonne Pereira playing some guitar as well as singing some background vocals, and my dear friend Hillary Smith singing her ass off. Now we're going to play some more tracks from Hillary, one track from hONEyhoUSe and then another one from another one of her albums. But this conversation encompasses a bit of Hillary's upbringing here in the city of Albuquerque, being born in Hobbs, New Mexico, and making her transition through her musical life into eventually playing with this band hONEyhoUSe, which now she's working with very regularly. It's great getting to catch up with my dear friend Hillary, who I admire so much. She's truly one of my favorite singers in town and someone I look up to so much musically, professionally, for the way she carries herself, for the community of supporters that she's built, of course, from the immense voice that she has, but also from her loving character and spirit as you get to know her. And beyond that, her long-lasting career and her hard-working mentality. She's one of the hardest working girls in town. Not just girls, musicians. I mean, she's working all the time under her own name or with this band that you just heard, hONEyhoUSe. So, I know you're going to love this conversation. And as always, I encourage you to like, subscribe, tell a friend, and share this episode so that we can definitely get some follows and some support from Miss Hillary Smith. I'm going to include some links down below within the description of this podcast for you to follow hONEyhoUSe as well as everything that's going on with Hillary and her bands as she performs in and around Albuquerque, New Mexico, and all around the country. Thank y'all so much for listening. And please welcome to Our Talk Music, Miss Hillary Smith. Miss Hillary Smith. What is going on, my dear? Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, I'm genuinely excited to be here.
Not as genuinely excited as I am to have you because I have been looking forward to this. We kind of sort of did a podcast a while ago, but then had it interrupted by some traveling vagabond musicians I knew from New Orleans who were coming through town, and I had to say, "Oh, we gotta stop because I gotta find them some peach cobbler."
Oh yeah, and who could help you? What better person to help you with that
Hillary
than me?
Smith.
I knew all the places to go.
This is what you should do. Go to this place. Go to Rudy. Call them up. They don't have it. Call this other place. Damn, you are a pro on this. All right. But I'm excited to talk to you now that you got a little time off the road. I mean, I know you're just busy all the time working in general. You, from what I've always seen and always known about you, you're an incredibly working woman and like one of the most working people in town as far as being a solo act. And I admire that and always aspire to work a lot, and tell me what it's been like getting a little bit of time off now. I mean, because I know you travel. You've been doing a lot more on the road stuff now, right?
Yeah. Well, hONEyhoUSe, we had a pretty rigorous tour, and which we're all thankful for, but I think it took its toll. And, Mandy has a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old. So wow. I think we're going to take it a little easier moving forward, be a little bit more select about what we do. But we're moving into the cooler months, and there was a pretty scary event. I was actually not in the van, but the girls had some black ice things happen. And so they were like, let's just kind of limit winter travel. So we've got some stuff in Lubbock and Amarillo, through the winter months, but we're only like out maybe one weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm loving being home. I have a little bit of time to be with my family, and my daughter's just recently married, and she just lives up the street a few miles. And so it gives me a little bit more opportunity to be with, both of them, and of course, hang with my darling baby dogs. I love them. And now I have grand nuggets. Ooh. Now my daughter has 2 little baby dogs, Pesto and Olive.
Oh my goodness.
Claudio, I have my grandmama name, bruh, already. I do. I can't wait. I can't wait to use it. I'm all excited.
I feel it. I feel like I'm so happy for you and for Lyric, and Jake is just like the sweetest of guys that we've known for so many years. So
I know that you do know them
for so many years.
Yeah.
Since you were living at your old house. I remember them dating when they were still in high school.
I know they've been together forever.
Goodness, so long. But I mean, it's got to be so exciting for you now. We're talking off a little bit about kind of changing roles, getting used to your lifestyle being a little different now because your daughter's not in school anymore and she's married now.
She's married. I know it is. So it's been an interesting year. It's been an interesting year. We lost Daddy in June, and it's interesting that loss is just not relegated to the experience of the loss. It's the aftermath. That's kind of equally as intense, if not more so in some ways. You know what I mean? So It's just kind of, but every kind of, I'll look around and I'll be in a supermarket or something, and I'm like, every person I see has had an equivalent loss. That's one thing we all have in common. Mm-hmm. And most of us are still upright, and we find a way to make it bearable. There's no set equation of this many hours before it's bearable. You know?
Right.
I wish it could get more bearable for my mom, but I think it's beginning to be a little bit more hopeful. It's just a process. But even in that tough process, you learn so many beautiful things about things that you could never have any idea about until you have the experience. So in some ways, it's such a beautiful thing, And then you have just this kind of rebirth that happens at a wedding, and they're talking about kids in a few years, and so it really, even though it's all happened in a relatively short amount of time, like that all happened within about 3 months of each other, it is just that, and I hate to sound trite, but that real circle of life, that imminence, that even in loss, that there's some kind of rebirth happening. So it's been a really important year. It's been a really important year. And I was just talking to a buddy this morning about, man, I have an itch to record. I just don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do next, but it's I feel like I'm on the eve of needing to really get busy on something, and I'm lucky to have that opportunity to record with the Honey Sisters, but I'm kind of ready to do something of my own, and I just don't know what it's going to be. I have a few choices. I have a few things swimming around. You can help me decide. You can help me decide.
I would be so happy. It's so exciting. It's such a potent feeling that urge to just need to get in there, right?
Oh, I know. And you don't always, I don't always have it.
Nah, me either. Not at all. It comes in waves of a couple of years.
Oh, it does, and those days in between.
Yeah. Of course. And there's those moments in between where you're the moment to moment, the story to story, the song to song. But I mean, at some junctures of your life, if it's that so many things have happened, or you've gotten to a pivotal moment where you're looking back on everything and all of the songs or all of the ideas or all the stories that you have, and you're like, all right, it's time for me to compile this and just go in, you're I'm playing with so many projects, which I'm sure you feel a lot more, and I felt in different points in my life where you're with so many amazing musicians that inspire you and around so many different projects that you're man, I need to go get something down, and what am I gonna do?
I don't know. I've got an idea for 3 different things, and I don't.
And you got 14 different options. Yeah.
Well, no, I have 3 ideas. I've narrowed it down to 3.
Oh, all right.
No, I've narrowed it down.
Do you want to share them? Or you keeping them off the?
Oh, no, you can help me decide. Well,
come on.
Okay, so my daughter is a ridiculous vocalist, and not only can she sing the heck out of anything gospel you want to throw at her, but she's an incredibly accomplished classical singer, and I thought it might be cool to do a duet kind of tandem Christmas kind of holiday thing with her that can incorporate gospel stuff and classical stuff.
That's
and
beautiful.
just, there'll be a little soul in there, that kind of thing. So it'll be a smattering. So there's that.
Yeah.
And then the lyrics that I've been writing recently and stuff that I've been revisiting, like I love to go back and see. Do you have this experience where you'll just randomly find an idea and you're like, damn, I'm so good. I forgot how good I was. It's like I'll be having like this real like dry spell and I'll go back and I'll read something that I don't even remember writing.
Oh my goodness.
And then it hits me in a pretty poetic place.
Yes.
And it
just at the right time, yeah.
It's not trust me, it's
not
rare
an ego
to never that I get surprised with myself.
No,
but when
right,
it happens, I remember it. But anyway, so all of those lyrics and things I've been kind of refining, I feel lend itself instrumentally and just kind of melodically to kind of like a neo soul kind of vibe.
Very much so.
Kind of, yeah. And then I'm thinking kind of like Angie Stone, kind of Jill Scott. If I were to reference somebody,
sure.
So then, one of the sweetest things. I'm so lucky I have so many sweet things. I really do. But the Albuquerque Jazz Orchestra, I am like the luckiest chirp in the world. I feel like I am. That is just this beautiful wall of sound. And all those brothers in Diantha, there's usually one or two women that are in there. And they're precious, man. They're just precious folks.
Yep.
And so it's just a very sweet thing in addition to there's some wonderfully accomplished players. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's like, gosh, people ask me all the time, probably more than any other thing that I do, would you do something with AJO? I'd love to have that, recording.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, big band recording is in your history.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, No Easy Way definitely had quite a bit of big band in it, right? Tell me about that. That's your first kind of official breaking out solo album, right? I know that you had stuff come out before that, but for Hillary Smith, like your name on the album.
Yeah, you're right about that. I did do a gospel CD before that. That was myself in a choir. So with the Mackey family and the White family from Hobbs, New Mexico.
Wow. Where
oh my gosh.
You were from.
Yes,
Hobbs,
but
New Mexico.
the best singers in the world reside in Hobbs. Brother, no lie.
Wow.
We used to, I did a gospel album, and when we would, we had just a handful of like performances, but I just stand on stage with all of these incredibly vocal, Gene Hodge, Glenda Mackey, Russell White, Kevin White, I mean, all of the White family. And I'm just transported, man. It's just like, there's nothing. Yeah. Is there really anything better than being surrounded by people that are like light years?
Singing light in harmonies that just make your whole body vibrate.
Oh my goodness. It's like as much as I love to sing, I will never be where they are musically because it is just perfect to me. Perfect. And my daughter got to grow up in that. And I think that she was so heavily influenced by all that.
Wonder. Not just was she.
Anyway, but No Easy Way, that was actually a project that was culminated and initially directed by Doug Lawrence.
So Doug Lawrence directed it, but it featured Bobby Shue and it featured Clyde Stubblefield?
Yes, James Brown's drummer. Yes.
So tell me about that. How did that come to be?
Friends of Doug's, man. We ended up recording it in Milwaukee with Tom Matta and a couple of brothers from the Basie band that Doug knew, and had just these ridiculous righteous charts written by Tom Matta and Glenn Coster and Dan Trudell. Was playing Hammond.
So Glenn was he playing alto? Was he the alto player on there?
It started in Milwaukee. Okay, what I mean? And then I wanted to do a little bit different thing with it artistically, so brought it back to New Mexico. And at that point, I took on Luis Guerra,
of course,
and John Rangel, and they kind of helped me co-produce.
Wonderful piano player.
And then that's when we brought in Bobby and Glenn Coster and Demi DeSanti to come in and solo once it was back in New Mexico.
Okay, all right. So those are different tracks because, I mean, you do hear different vibes throughout the CD, and I was going to ask you who that initial guitar player was on some of the earlier tracks because I was
Mike
I know that's
Standell.
not Demi. Wow.
Isn't he
Mike
something,
Standell?
man? Yes, you need to like check that brother out.
I'm going to write that name down.
And then the bass player was Jake Venzel, and at that time he was just a babe, and he was so smooth and so sweet.
Yeah, that was a killer band. I mean, the whole thing just sounds so awesome. You know, I thought Doug was a part of it, but I didn't know because it wasn't, highlighted in any of the descriptions. But I was like, I think, and was Doug also? No, I think the Kevin Hayes thing was its own thing upon itself. I know that came later, but you met him from being here in New Mexico and him living in Santa Fe and stuff, right?
Yeah, that was a beautiful... Kevin's just a beautiful cat, man, and
monster player. And
he invited me to play with him at the Gathering of the Vibes in Connecticut one year, and that was pretty incredible. That was pretty unbelievable, and his band, and so that was. Kevin was a very sweet but very short chapter, and so he would
just to interject for a second. Who was in his band then?
I knew you were going to ask me that. So Nick Payton and Joshua Redman were there, and then I'll have to come back to it. I knew you were going to ask me that.
Was Peter Bernstein on guitar?
Peter Bernstein was on
Bill
guitar.
Stewart on drums?
Yes, thank you. Keep coming.
And was Larry Grenadier? I don't know who the bass player was. That was who I got.
No, bass player. Say it again.
Larry Grenadier?
No, it was not Larry.
Okay.
I can't remember, but yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
I knew you were going to ask me that, but that was incredible.
How special is that? Goodness.
It was incredible, and that was just a very sweet vignette. And I just think Kevin's beautiful. And I actually kind of got to be around when he started singing, and
when Kevin started singing.
Cool. And Kevin has a very unique, very unique timbre, and just a very unique presence with his voice, and so and he would home record, and so I'd go up to Santa Fe, he'd make me some tea, and we would spend like the better part of the day just doing the vocal thing. And then he had a great big like grand piano, not a studio grand, like a baby grand
one, like a real one.
Like a real one.
Yep.
And so it was good. That was a sweet chapter. Thank you for remembering those names.
Oh, of course, of
that
course.
was a lot of years ago.
When I was looking this stuff up, I know.
I am elderly, bro.
Come on now, don't say that. No, you're not. You are young, gorgeous, and killing it.
You are young.
Come on now.
You are young.
I just was so amazed, like looking back and just kind of like doing a little bit of research and stuff like that. But like, let me ask you the kind of initial, like the beginnings question, because I'm sure as you already initially just spoke about Hobbs being a hub for incredible singers and being surrounded by that when you were growing up. When you came to Albuquerque, I know you were at UNM, right? What high school did you go to, by the way?
I graduated from Hobbs
High School.
Yeah.
And so from Hobbs High School, you came straight to UNM, and did you run right away, try and get into Kappa Kappa Gamma, or was that like,
oh my gosh,
waiting until your sophomore, junior year? When did you run for? Because I'm sure you jumped into the house too, right? And you were living.
Yeah. Oh no. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. So actually, there was a year in there where I was in South Africa for a handful of months as a Rotary exchange school, and right outside of Durban in a Manzum-Toti. Yep.
Gotcha.
And then came back and went to UNM. I was a music major. And pledged Kappa Kappa Gamma. My mama was a Kappa Kappa Gamma.
And so was Lyric.
And no, Lyric was a Pi Phi. Lyric was a Pi Phi now.
She defied. Excuse me.
And I don't know. They're sweet women. I think I was kind of like their token artistic type. But anyway, and boy, I snuck out of that house like every Sunday to go to this jam session at the Annex 2 on Central.
Wow.
And Fat City was the resident band.
Wow.
And they had a singer. You talk about, here's another epic singer, Sandra van Valkenburg, which later became Sandra Iseminger, whose daughter is Victoria Panana. And I don't know if you know Victoria, killer, beautiful vocalist. She plays in the DCN Project, is that right? But John Iseminger, her dad.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that band. Yeah.
She's bad to the bone and just a sweet sister. But her mama was the singer in Fat City at the time.
Wow.
And she blew me away. And remember, I'm just coming from Hobbs, land
Yeah.
of Barbara Mandrell. And
Barbara Mandrell's choir. Who's Barbara Mandrell?
look
sorry,
at
I'm
you,
sorry.
little puppy. No, Barbara Mandrell was a great country. She is a great country artist, and
Gotcha.
she was really hot at that time. And
Gotcha.
that's who that's kind
You
of
were
like
listening
what
to
was getting
who was
played.
passed around.
And then I got to Albuquerque, and some mutual friends said, "Come out to the annex," and I wasn't old enough to go, so. Oh, my mama's not listening. I snuck in, and probably nothing she doesn't know by now. But anyway, and they weren't that picky then.
Yeah.
You could get away with that. And I just got completely immersed in the whole funk scene. And it was bands like Zozobra and Flipside and who else, man? Well, Fat City, of course. Anyway, great players are in that band. Robert Blea, Larry Montoya, Cool, Juan Mena, David Naya. Who else was in that band? At one point, Robbie Jude was the bass player. Anyway, just a great band. And I just fell in love with funk music.
Wow.
And so I would go and I would listen to Sandra just belt it out. I would sneak out and go to the jam night. And I think one night I had enough tequila and enough nerve to try to get up and terribly wade through a Diana Ross song. Remember that?
Wow.
Upside. Well, of course you don't remember.
Sing it to me.
but
Come on now. Come on.
Upside down. Yeah, boy, you turn me inside out and round, yeah, side down,
Get it.
yeah. Boy, you turn.
Hell yeah, I remember that song.
So anyway, but back then it was more
love that
like
song.
upside down. So anyway, so something went down with Sandra. I don't even quite remember, but she needed to leave for a little while, just get out of that scene for a little while. And so I kind of got in on a temporary basis. I was like on probation. And I think just because I knew every word to every song already, because I'd been going to listen.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think they were pretty reluctant to say, you actually got the gig, girl, because I wasn't, because I was a pilgrim. And but anyway, that's how that all started.
Wow.
That's how that started. Speaking of the Kappa Kappa Gamma House.
Tell me.
No, I'm just that's
that was from that. But from there to working with Fat City, you didn't finish. Did you finish university? Did you finish your studies?
No.
Right.
No, I dropped out. I actually worked at Americana. I don't know if you remember Americana when it was over on Copper.
Okay.
Great dim sum place.
Got you.
And I worked with Mickey and Han. And they trained me. And actually, they were really kind of training me to be like kind of one of the head chefs at that time. And there was a woman, Kathleen, really talented. And they were really helping me. But Fat City, the call came and I thought that I had arrived, bruh.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, that's how that all started.
So,
and then, yeah.
all right. So you were doing this job. You were sitting in / took over the gig of Fat City.
I didn't take over.
All right,
no.
but you know what I'm saying. You started working with them, right?
Yeah, on
Now,
probation.
where did Strictly Taboo come into the picture?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so at that time, there was a brother. His name was T.J. Smith. T.J. is one of the most soulful brothers, drummer. He played drums for a band called Sassy Jones, which was like the 80s pinnacle band. They were the bar stars of Albuquerque. Michael Tinker, hands down to this very day, the best front person I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've ever seen. And I just aspired. I was always amazed by them. And but anyway, there was an agent in town, Joe Buffalino. And pretty much all the clubs and all the bands were kind of under his agency, and he had it sewed up tight, man. He had it going pretty smoothly. And TJ came in because TJ wanted, I think, another singer to sing with him in this band that they were putting together, and they had a drummer, which at the time was Frankie Urzetta, who was working with another brother, Stephen Katz, and I think they were in Ruidosa. And then there was this other brother they knew from somewhere. His name was Chris Costa. And they wanted to form a band. And I think they were kind of auditioning. And this is a true story, and I don't mean to be throwing anybody under the bus, but it was understandable. So, in the 80s, how you looked was maybe even more, there was less margins for uniqueness in the 80s. There was kind of a stereotypical rocker chick type, which with my ampleness that I did not quite fit. I have nappy hair and an ass, and so I didn't fit the spandex mode, and I'm not real edgy looking. Pretty much what you see is what you get, and I think that there are some concerns that I just was not like rocker chick cut out for this business, and but TJ kind of talked him into it. That's the way I heard it, and so I pretty much started, I immersed myself in that whole 80s scene, I really did, and the name of that band was Motion Picture. So that was that band. Mm-hmm.
So moving on from that time to the time that you started working with Chris Drake in Soul Kitchen, was that initially the first starting of that band, or how did you and Chris come to meet?
I went into, St. Clair up there on Rio Grande.
Yeah.
My friend Joni, which at the time was Joni Griffin, Joni Siri now, who's a powerhouse vocalist here in town. She lives just like about a block away. And so I thought, well, I'll go visit Joni, and her boyfriend at the time was playing cajon in this band, or drums, I think. And, I've known about Chris Drake as long as I've been singing in Albuquerque, but I worked every weekend. He worked every weekend. I don't know that I maybe saw him one time live. He was playing before a band that I was in at like a wine festival or something. I just remember being knocked out. He played like a Hendrix cover, and I was blown away. He is such an original thinker. And, he really is. He really is. And I went in and heard them, and I was knocked out. Marcus was on bass. Marcus Kastman was on bass. And they were so funky, Claudio. He was just blowing me away. So funky. And I just love the way he comps.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can comp like that, brother, and then turn around and be a wicked slide player. Woo. And just, he's just a beautiful cat. And so I kind of just fell absolutely in love. And we went over to Joni's house and had a hang. And Tommy Elskus, I don't know if you remember Tommy. Tommy was on the scene back then, and he was also playing with Chris. And I said, man, I would sure like to work with these two guys. And I think we hung out and jammed and decided we might do it. Chris, you know what? I'm going to throw Chris right under the bus. Because he kept saying, man, this gig is costing me money because this is what I'd make as a solo artist. And it's like, now I have to share. I'm like, if you can just hold on a minute, I think that it could turn into something. And it did.
Eventually we'll make more. I promise, Chris. Come on.
And it turned into something. And we recently, Chris and I, we had worked together almost 10 years. And sometimes you just kind of need not even as, I think every relationship sometimes just needs to catch its breath, however that looks, But we just recently had a gig together in Roswell. And man, it was just such a delightful thing to come back, because we do some original stuff, but we also do some cover stuff, And, and when you're working every weekend, you can get so burned out, man. You just, and it's hard to find time to figure in new tunes, and even when you practice, you have 95 other things that are in front of your head before what you're doing.
And then you've got 14 gigs in the weekend you got to play, and it's we ain't got time to practice.
I know. So, we were just burnt out. So, but it was so fun to just come back and just know we just had to hit those songs one time.
And it was just duo in Roswell?
Yeah, it was just a duo.
Sick.
It was so much fun. So, and needless to say, everybody, I mean, he's like a Pied Piper. It's Chris Drake in his little black cap, man. He really is. People just fall in love with him, and they fell in love with him in Roswell. So
I was watching the video on YouTube of you guys some years ago in Taos, and I was like, this is so cool. It's just like the energy between you guys is something that is so palpable, and the forces that each one of you like are upon yourselves. Like you both have such a huge voice and such a huge presence. So it's like when the two of you come together, it's just like, it's like the two most holy things that they don't have to do with religion. It's like soul and what's in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? It's like you guys, like the combination of you guys was like my favorite. And like I came to know Chris first because I knew Chris from the jam session he would host over at the Brickyard.
Yeah.
And he, quickly, right away, almost instantly became my favorite blues, and not just blues, but just like solo guitar and singer in town, because the way his voice just, it's just, he's got such a unique voice that just is accompanied with what you're talking about, this awesome way that he comps himself.
I know. It's
that, then he just he puts a little bit of slide in there. You're just like, oh my God, what is this? Who are you?
No.
It's so fucking good.
And he's a great writer.
And he's a great writer. I remember when I was jamming with him and getting to know him and stuff like that, he was so gracious, such an open, generous soul, and we'd play some of his tunes, it's so cool. And so every time I'd go back to the jam and I'd see him throughout the years, I'd be like, yo, let's play that tune of yours, man. Like, I love that tune, And yeah, I was so excited to see then and hear you, and then eventually, get to like hang out with you and get to become friends with you and eventually like play with you. And I remember the first couple gigs that I played with you, surprisingly over at St. Clair, I think was one of them, where it was just like, God dang, the shoes that I'm feeling here are huge.
Oh no, those are fun though.
They were black, and they are their own things upon themselves, because everyone is their own musician and is their own thing and does their own thing, but from admiring the two of you working so awesome alongside each other for so many years, it was just so neat and so inspiring for me to then get to be that guitar player looking over next to you. It was just like, oh shit, I'm here. I'm here now. Oh fuck, like I made it. Oh baby.
Okay, the F words. My mama could be.
Sorry, mama. I'm sorry, mama. I'm gonna bleep that out so you didn't hear anything. You just heard a beep. What F word? He didn't say anything. All right. So now, but tell me. So like from there, we kind of, as you said, you kind of took a little bit of a break, as all relationships do, and I totally understand that. You came together with Mandy and Yvonne and formed hONEyHOUSe. Now tell me how that came to be. Was it a gig that you were doing and they came and heard you, or you heard them on a gig?
I was actually with Soul Kitchen. I was with Chris.
Okay.
And we went up to Red River.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, have you heard Mandy and Yvonne? They're so good.
They were a duo thing.
They're kind of like the Queens. I'm like, no, I've never heard them. They're like, oh, you got to hear them. And I guess at the same time, like the owner was going, have y'all heard Hillary? And they were like, whatever. Girls are bitchy sometimes. We just are on the inside. We are sweet little McNuggets on the outside, but on the inside, we're like. So anyway, you know what? Yvonne tells this story, and it's absolutely true. So the Motherlode is this great big dance hall. There's a little bitty stage. Yeah. Actually, not a little bit. It's not high off the ground, but it's a big stage. And walked in to sound check, and there's like 3 women sitting on this bench because it's like picnic tables with benches.
Yeah.
They pull out a bench in the middle of the dance floor. Like a gosh darn jury, bro. And we start to sound check, and they are like, yeah. And Yvonne tells the story that she looks at Mandy and says, Mandy, I don't love you anymore. And Yvonne says, I'm going to play guitar for that girl. And then so that night we played like maybe one song together. There's another little bar called the Lost Love Saloon. No lie. It's just it's a part of the same like complex from the Motherlode and the hotel. And they were playing their duo in there, and I went in and did some blues. And fast forward a few months, we all ended up there one night together, and Steve Hegland, the owner of that hotel and bar, he said, y'all can just stay here free, but why don't you do a set together? So we did just like about a 45-minute set, just cover tunes.
Yeah.
And just were harmonizing, and it was kind of, there's this thing that sometimes happens that you can practice a lifetime to get, and that is those vocal overtones, those harmonic overtones when you're singing. And it usually takes a lot of concentration and a lot of focus on vibratos,
Oh, yeah.
And that was happening in that first 45 minutes. Instantaneously, like when we were singing Angel from Montgomery. And so we're not the only ones that heard it, so it felt like a real God-kissed kind of thing. And then we kind of started testing it out as songwriters, and Yvonne kind of led the way on there. But Mandy is brilliant. Yvonne has had probably more experience overall.
Sure.
And that chickadee, by the way, just recorded a solo album with Matt Bissonette, who is,
Yvonne? We're speaking about Yvonne Perea, by the way.
Yeah, from hONEyhoUSe. Yeah, she's about to drop her solo album.
Get it, Yvonne. I'm excited to hear that.
I know. And it's called Lucky Me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And there's a song called Printing Press that the hook, I don't even want to put it in. It is such an earworm, man. It is in there. It is a brilliant hook. And
Yvonne's a badass writer. All the three of you guys are just such powerhouses.
She is. Well, you know what? Something happens. It's a very invoking sisterhood. I'll say that about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about Mandy Buchanan.
Right. Yeah. And then Danielle Andrade and Diane DeLeon.
That's right.
Yeah.
They eventually made their way in, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about the first album that really kind of came together was in 2010, right? Am I mistaken or no? 2012. It was Medicine Lodge. Is that right?
No, Sun was before that.
Excuse me. So Sun came out, what, 2009 then?
Like 10, I think.
Or 2010. All right.
Yeah, I think so.
So Sun came out first, and then the next album was Raw Honey?
No, Medicine Lodge.
Excuse me. Then Medicine Lodge.
And then Sweet.
And then Sweet.
And then Raw Honey.
And then Raw Honey.
And now Kick Up the Dust.
Woo! So you guys are on your fifth album.
I know.
How exciting
Isn't that cool?
And like how prolific you guys are. Like obviously you guys are three creative and powerhouse singers and minds coming together and working and bringing your own kind of stories. It's been interesting speaking to you over the years, kind of understanding that balance as it kind of sways and finds its way more so between the three of your personalities, right?
Yeah.
What is that like writing with two other people in the room? I mean, I know that obviously there's more people in the band now, but I mean, even at the beginning stages of just writing with Mandy and Yvonne.
It was always comfortable, but it gets even more comfortable. Like we kind of just crack each other up because sometimes you just like write some terrible shit. You just have to laugh at yourself, Mm-hmm. You just have to laugh at yourself, and we're very comfortable.
Yeah.
And I can honestly, I don't think anybody gets their feelings hurt, like if there's just something that doesn't go over. Usually there's just a more complete idea that the three of us will eventually come to in that one.
Yeah.
So you just got to kind of keep moving on, and it's just I don't know, man. It's a beautiful thing. The thing that we always say is that it shouldn't work, but gosh dang it, it sure does. It's a beautiful thing. And Danielle and Diane have also really become a very intricate part of we got signed by label Howlin' Dog this last year.
How exciting.
And, very exciting. And Danielle and Diane really got on board with a lot of the arranging and just putting their stamp on stuff. So
now, speaking about signing on, was it around the time that Medicine Lodge came out, around 2012, that you guys signed on with Avocado Artists with Tom Frog?
Yes, we did. And you know what, Tom, man, he does a really beautiful, brilliant thing with Global Kirky. And it actually, anything that he gets behind, is going to be an epic. Yeah. Not only is it going to be an epic listening experience, but memorable. Like I can't not remember a Global Kirky that I've been to that I just didn't. Somebody just didn't take me there.
Yeah, It was so interesting. Last night I was in Old Town over at Casa Flamenco with Valeria Montes and some other of the flamenco community, and Neil Copperman was out. And
say it again. Just say flam.
Casa Flamenco.
Okay, just tell me how you say
flamenco.
Yeah, I'm so Lee County, bro. I try. And my daughter, anytime.
Flamenco.
Flamenco.
There, you got it, girl.
I can't do it without like twisting my face up.
You just got to twist it up just a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit.
I got to get better.
Like some people, they can't roll their R's. Like they have to like make that weird face to roll it. It's like you got to make that weird face up until you don't have to make the weird face anymore. Just keep doing it. You know.
Okay, so back to Casa Flamante.
So I was speaking to Neil Copperman.
Gracias. Okay, Neil Copperman.
Neil Copperman of AMP, and how him and Tom initially started doing Global Kirky together, and it's just crazy the amount of work that goes into that. But we were speaking about avocado artist and Tom Frog, and how he initially started working with you guys. I mean, so what does it feel like? I mean, being in a band that has had this trajectory like this. I mean, even though you've played with many bands, and I've been rude and skipped over one of my absolute favorite bands, which is Hip Pocket. We can get to that a little later. But what does it feel like to be part of a partnership with these other creative people that you are reaping the benefits and having incredible response and feedback to your music?
Man, I haven't like really legitimately toured before, and we still it's not touring as you would think about it is, because everybody has families and households, and but it's pretty rigorous for us, and we go as far down as like Galveston, and so that's a pretty long drive back for the Albuquerque girls,
Oh yeah.
But I will have to say, in complete honesty, that if we ourselves aren't like feeling propelled, we have been blessed is like too minimal of a word, by people that believe in us and love what we do and love who we are. That community keeps growing and growing, and we're lucky to still have some of the original founders, the hONEyHOUSe movement. And, we've had some people come in our lives along the way that really validated us, because not only of who they just were spiritually, but what their careers have been. Lori White Cannon, she was a perfect example of that, multi-Grammy winning award, artist, producer, singer, songwriter. And she's married to Chuck Canick, and another prolific engineer, writer, co-producer, everything. You walk in and it's ASCAP BMI, like these like giant, all these awards, and she hooked up with us after Barn Dance in Taos. Here's like this magnanimous woman in this industry, and here's us 5 chicks. And she's like, come to Nashville. We're like, how will we ever afford to go to Nashville? And we did. And we were able to go. And it was because people helped fund us to get there, and we got to play at the Bluebird. And then you have people like Michael Hearn, who's had an epic career, immense career. Just believe in us, and so, and then the people that we meet along the way. So I will say that it is a percentage, us, and how we love it. But like every job, every occupation, there's a burnout factor, especially when you're away from your homes,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We are instantly like, it's like a B12 shot, man. It's like we can just be feeling like road weary. I can't believe we have to turn around and do this again in 3 days.
Yeah.
And then the weekend after that, another turn around and do it in 2 days. And it's just like, wow, man, I don't know if I really want to do that. But then you just have these loving experiences. And then new people that get on and are just like, it's like you wrote that song for me. I mean, that's the coolest thing when people are singing it back to you. And that's where we are. And I mean, I'm sorry, I feel like Queen when we're up there. We'll be doing like these house concerts, and there may only be like 60 or 70 people, and every single one of them is singing our lyrics back to us. And
how powerful is that?
It is. I could not be in a Coliseum and feel any more transcendent. I really couldn't. It is a miraculous thing when people actually sing your life experience back to you. Like a melody that you came up with, like, I don't know, while you were taking the trash out, or, while you were driving to work, all of a sudden is on a stranger's lips. I mean, that is a miraculous thing, I think. I think that's...
You're totally right. Yeah.
And to me, that's enough. That's enough to keep it going when I'm just like, man, it's hard. And it's like, why did I decide to be in my 50s to start? I mean, I'm definitely the oldest one in the bunch by a bunch, but so it can get a little, got some old bones. I've enjoyed my life. It shows. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, wow. It's a sweet place to be.
How special. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have to take a couple steps back because hip pocket is one of my hip hop it don't stop, a rocket to the bang bang, up step the boogie to the rhythm of boogie beat.
Now what you see is not a test.
Get it. Rapper's delight.
And the game.
I'm just trying to move your feet.
You're way too young. All right,
I'm not too young. Hey.
I have so much respect for you right now. I love you so much right now.
I used to break dance to that song. All right, that's how old school.
I'll pay money.
I'm about to see my break dance. You don't want to see it.
Pay money.
I'll give you your money back because you're gonna want to see it. I'll take the pizza and give you a little windmill,
a little spin,
splat, a little backspin splat. Yeah.
All right, man.
I remember hearing, Demi DeSanti play in your band and hear Steve Figueroa and John Bartlett, Milo, and I know you've had different incarnations of the band and different musicians play in it, but tell me about how that band came to be, because I know that was different than Soul Kitchen, right? Was it around the time that Soul Kitchen came to be or after?
No.
A couple of years later?
Do you remember Brewster's?
No, Brewster's?
Was
no.
it Brewster's?
Restaurant?
The Long Bar. It's a library now on Central.
Oh, yeah.
So
I heard it was...
Steve and Milo, and I think Demi, and Johnny Bartlett had a house kick there every Wednesday, and it was like free wings.
Wow.
And not just like any kind of wings, man. Like meaty-ass wings, right?
Wow.
With like the, all the fixings and everything. So... You'd think that people would be coming in it, but it was kind of like they would do jazz stuff, and then Michael Herndon would sometimes sing with them. And I had met Milo and Mikey Chavez, a drummer, and Steve Figueroa at a place called Grandpa's up in the Heights that used to have jam sessions. And Hank Wickham was there. And God bless him, our sweet brother, Gerald Lujan. That's how I met Gerald, who I had a duo with Gerald, which was a very sweet chapter. And the way that brother could thump, man, there's nothing like him either. So
God bless his heart.
That hurts me. But, but anyway, and I'm not exactly sure, but we just decided to kind of that's kind of how it started. And it was just like, man, we should just put together a whole thing and do some weddings and that kind of deal. So I think that's how it happened. And then Glenn Coster.
Wait. So it started with you and Gerald?
No.
So you were playing with Gerald around that time.
No, we would go sit in at this jam session at Grandpa's.
John and Steve and
that's how I met
Demi.
Steve and them. And then
Gotcha.
went to Brewster's to hear them. And then ended up being just best friends. And then Mookie Jaramillo was also, he played congas in that band. And Mikey and Mookie, Milo and Mookie and I were like pretty inseparable. We had a lot of good times. We had a very unforgettable time one time out in Isleta, but that's another interview. But anyway, just precious brothers, and we did some gigs and did some clubs. We played at the Q Bar for a number of years, and that's pretty. You were talking about different players, but that was pretty much the
main lineup of guys.
At one time, Mark Clark came in.
Yeah.
And was playing with us for a while, but it was pretty much Johnny Bartlett, pretty much the whole time.
That lineup, which eventually then kind of formed in a different way with with Stu and Glenn into certified organic.
Yeah.
It's like, Demi
And
DeSanti.
Arnaldo.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Demi DeSanti in your band was like when I first was just like hearing him shred
ridiculous.
in what, in my opinion, is my favorite stuff to hear Demi play, which is like that R&B, fusion, jazz, funky, all that kind of stuff. He's just like, he
He's
shreds.
beautiful.
Oh my God,
He's absolutely beautiful and just
amazing.
a true benevolent soul.
He's such a sweet person, and it's cool seeing him now get into like politics and get into like some different stuff, and kind of like just seeing him still be active in what he's doing and always like working. I know he like does construction or something like that, or was doing that.
Yeah, he's always like been like doing houses and real estate and stuff like that. He's got a great eye and a great skill for it. But anyway, all those brothers, I can't say enough nice things. They really are, they're family.
Do you still play every once in a while with that band?
No, we had a little reunion, very short gig for Palusa, the benefit for Brother Paul Gonzalez. And we did a little 30-minute set. And,
wow.
We hadn't played in years. We just kind of sent out a playlist a couple days ahead.
Yeah.
We might do these songs.
Good luck. Let's try and tackle these ones. Yeah.
Good luck. And actually, that day, Mo Roberts played with us. John originally wasn't available, and then it became available. So they were real sweet and split the gig. But I play with Mo and Jim Casey and the chair varies Artha.
Yeah.
Until
Brian,
he left,
right?
and then Brian Abel. Mm-hmm.
This is your new
and Glennie.
Reincarnation, so to speak, of like a funk and groovy band. It's called Chill House.
And Jim Casey.
Right?
Yeah.
How did that band come to be? Because that's kind of the new thing.
Is it?
Which, I mean, like, since Hip Pocket is not around, you know what I mean? You don't have another band that you're like doing funky, like soulful music purely like that, are you? Right? Like that's
no, and I have to have that in my life.
That's what I'm saying. And I love that
Yeah, I can't. Sometimes I'll get in a situation where I don't have it and I can't stay in it very long.
Is that why Chill House kind of came to be? Because you were doing a little too much work of other things and you kind of needed that back in your life, so you brought it back? Or what birthed Chill House, or when did it?
Jim Casey migrated here from Dallas, and he was with a really successful band called Buster Brown Band. That they were so successful they ended up having a bar, like the Buster Brown Bar.
Wow.
Like they were bar kings.
Wow.
In Texas, and he and his beautiful, sweet wife Deb, they moved here, and he started doing some stuff. And he had this band Chill House, and at one point he called and asked if I could do it. And at the time, I was playing a lot with Soul Kitchen and HONEyhoUSe, and it was like I had no time. And Lyric, I don't think she was even in college yet, maybe. Or maybe was just starting. I just didn't have time.
Got you, yeah.
So, stuff, Chris and I decided to let stuff breathe a little bit. And Jim said, come in. By then it was a whole different group of players. It was John Davis and Chris Livingston.
Yeah.
And, let's see, who else? Oh, Michael Olivola. And Jim Casey.
Got you.
And so that's how that started. And that was Jim's band Chill House. And then just through, a year or so, just kind of migrated into different players and forgive me. And then it's Mo Roberts, and Glennie has picked up Hammond organ. Have you heard him?
Did you just say Glenn picked up Hammond organ?
Yeah, man.
What?
Like
I've heard him on piano before.
Okay.
Because of
you know what, Claudio? You gotta come. You're not even gonna believe it.
I got to. I'm always like working whenever you guys play those Bernalillo gigs that I want to go see. But whenever you guys play a gig, I'm able to go see. So he's playing organ and saxophone, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and singing. And you know what?
And singing.
I love so many things about that brother, but what I really love is that of all, just the knowledge of just jazz in general, and every component of it, but he will go and he will just shed on gospel changes, you know what I mean? And so he'll come to and he's just entirely appropriate, you know, and he's more than cutting it. It's like he took a ride the other night and I was like, look at you now. It sounded so good.
That is so awesome.
And then he picks up his saxophone and then just blows everybody away.
Yeah,
and he just sits there and
wails.
blows everybody away. Just makes it look like, having a
monster.
popsicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and Jim is such a stellar human.
Sweet soul. God
And
damn.
it just transfers through the way he plays. He's just,
Yeah, it does.
he's pure. He's soulful. He's considerate. He's a considerate player, you know?
That's an interesting word you don't hear very much from musicians.
Well,
It's inspiring to hear that for young people coming up, because what does that mean, right? Like for a musician, if you hear that, it's like, what does it mean to be a considerate musician, right? Like to think about others and put others before you, like as a guitar player on that gig, supporting the singer, right?
and on top of that, it must be said that he sets up the gear.
Wow.
And
That's awesome of him.
it
yeah.
is. And I did that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I did that for a long time. As long as Hip
yeah.
Pocket played, it was my. But that's something that I tell any vocalist that's like, what do I need to do to really get integrated and get serious? It's like buy a PA.
Seriously. Yep.
Because if you have the PA,
You can do a gig.
it increases your options 20-fold,
See
and
ya.
and learn how to work it, learn how to set it up, and there's a little bit of a curve, but you do it 5 times and it's in your head.
Yep.
And there's something empowering about being as a woman, because usually the band people will say, can you rap those chords? And then you get scolded for how you rap the chords. I'm just so not that chick, man. If it's in the bag, it's good. If it breaks, it breaks. You know what? Those things break if you like wrap them in gold, or if you like throw them in the bag like a bunch of snakes. They break the same amount.
You've always had that like very very open mind. Like, have you always been that way, or is that something you kind of like develop later in life? Like having a very like, it's good, it's gonna be good. Like
My mother would tell you that has been like my personality since day one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's where we are now. And so did Arthur leave?
So Arthur's kind of like in between leaving and coming back.
Okay.
I know that he will be spending some time in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So like between Austin and coming back here, I know that he'll still be in reach, even though he's not like for sure living here right now and doing that. What I did want to ask you about, though, is you just did an amazingly successful show honoring the great Aretha Franklin, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Was it Aretha Franklin that you were honoring?
It was. Bless her. Yeah, it was.
Tell me a little bit about that show.
Well, the band. Can we just talk about the band?
Monster band.
Jim Arend and Milo Jaramillo and Glenn Coster and Brad Dubbs and Mo Roberts and Jim Casey and Carla Van Blake and Tony Morgan on singing. And it was just, when you're putting together a show like that, and all those players, not only are they high demand, gig-wise, they all have day gigs. Some of them have little kids,
Yep.
And to try to squeeze in rehearsals with that many working musicians, as busy as they are, is kind of hard. And the thing was, we were able to get in about 3 rehearsals, but Jim Aaron, he arranged them for us, would have a PA waiting,
Wow. Yeah.
Everybody came prepared. But you never feel like you're quite rehearsed. But once I got there, it was fun, man. It was just so much fun.
Wow.
To sing all the songs that I've that's if there was one artist that was a soundtrack. I have a few top vocalists, but who's been in my player the most.
She's up
through
there.
different things. I can remember listening to her greatest hits, driving home from UNM to Hobbs for Christmas break or something.
Yeah.
You can't help but learn about singing when you listen to a singer like that. You can't help but learn. Whether you think yeah. That was a fun experience, and I hope that we get to do it again, and it looks like we might get to. More on that later.
Now,
in the next interview.
it was so successful that the show sold out ahead of time, and they put on a whole nother event, which was so cool to see whenever the Outpost has that happen. And I mean, you're a smashing success everywhere you go. But I mean, to have such a beautiful show honoring someone like that is just like, yo, I love seeing, you know, that kind of stuff. Now, what if I may kind of ask now, looking forward a little bit, what's in the future for Hillary? I know you're talking about that projects. You're kind of in between a couple of the ideas, maybe the daughter thing, maybe the big band thing, maybe the neo soul thing. You got a lot of options, and you know, off air we'll rap about some of the options I think, you know, would be amazing for you to do. But what's next in the next couple of months or year that you'd like to share with the people about, to keep an eye out for?
Really, I think I'm looking at something pretty quickly because I'm just thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
And you know how you like that'll eat you up alive?
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you've got all of it in your head, but you're not getting it down to like move it forward. So I know myself, and I know that I'm going to be distracted if I don't hurry up and put it in motion. So I really think this year that I'll have a new solo record, whatever that looks like, probably in the next 7 months, I would hope.
Beautiful.
And, you know, actually, on a personal level, man, I just feel like, I don't know what it is. You know, I think you go through different periods in your life where you just kind of break the surface again. You know, you kind of reside where it's a little bit murky, and that gets real comfortable. And then, you know, it's like that dragonfly syndrome. You know, you got to break the surface to like basically just split it all apart and like then bring it all back together. And so I kind of feel like I'm on the eve of that.
Yes.
You know, spend more time with my mama. You know, I enjoy that so much, and those days are precious. And we laugh, we just belly laugh. It's so much fun. More traveling with hONEyHOUSe. That experience is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Tuesday nights, it's not a plug, but that Tuesday nights at the Cooperage, man, that is
a plug. What are you talking about? Is it the first or the second?
You have never
Tuesday.
I've never seen you there.
Call me out. Come on. Uncle Mike, you're standing right next to Uncle Mike, my two favorite people in the whole wide world.
Speaking, man, we just talk about that real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the best things that happened this year,
tell me.
I get an email from Uncle Mike, from Michael Anthony, saying, hey, you need to check out Joe Pass and Ella Fitzgerald.
Ooh.
You and I are going to do a concert at the Outpost this summer.
Oh!
So, anyways, I've been checking it all out.
That is going to be amazing. Talk about a show that's going to sell out in advance and have to have another show. You turn the tables on me. I can't wait. I can't wait. So, he needed my list like last week, but I keep listening to stuff and I'm like, that would be perfect. And then, you know, the Outpost had a highly successful record exchange, that whole thing that Vinyl
they did this.
Thing.
Yes.
That's right. That was this past weekend, right?
Yes. And my buddy brought me a couple of LPs, Mose Allison.
Ooh.
And so I'm looking at some of these songs and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I need to revisit some of these. Would be perfect for that show. So now it's going to take me another week to listen to some stuff. But anyway, cool. And now that I have LPs, I'm going to have to get a turntable, don't you know?
I got to get a turntable too. I just got a power amplifier that I have down there hidden away, but I've been dying to get one myself. I've got a couple records here that I need to get, you know, a record player to play and enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely happy to hear that, because that specific duo combination of great singers and virtuoso guitarists is my favorite, hands down.
Well, I'm excited. Oh, so first Tuesday of every month, but
tell me, right, yeah.
So at the Cooperage from 7:30 to usually like 9:30.
It's the first Tuesday of every month at the Cooperage on Lomas, in between Wyoming and Eubank area.
Louisiana.
Louisiana, there we go. Right.
And it's the old school, the Cooperage. It's like the old school prime rib joint.
Right, and it's donations, I think, right?
Yeah.
Suggested donation.
Yeah, suggested donation.
And you've been like leading the band, which is so interesting to see the evolution of that, because they were doing.
No, I don't lead the band.
Come on now. No.
I don't do any leading.
When you sing, you lead the hell out of that band.
I do not do any leading of that. No, I am being led.
You're not conducting. Yeah, but You carry that band as if you are
that's not
singing
even true. No,
the
I
hell
am.
out of every single one of those
No.
musicians and swinging all of them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's hardly true.
I
man.
have heard you guys. I just haven't heard you at the Cooperage. So you can't call me out on that. I do know that.
No,
You know?
so no.
Obviously, I know Glenn is the director of AJO and stuff like that, and previously it was Bobby Shue and stuff. But you know, it's something I promise I will go out and see, and I encourage people to come out and see you guys.
By the way, just a side note of Bobby
Yes.
Shue. That brother is so sweet to myself and to my child.
Oh man,
We did a show,
man.
a couple shows with Kevin Hayes,
yeah.
and with my daughter, and he was just so encouraging to, yeah.
Bobby Shue's a sweetheart of a man. I was telling
can
Uncle
be,
Mike and
yeah,
sharing
he's
with people
awesome.
that he and I had an interesting experience where we got to kind of reconnect and almost in a new way, like we had met before, but they weren't on the best of terms, and he wasn't really my favorite person, so to speak. And so to re-meet him and him not remember me, it was almost like I got a blank canvas. You know what I mean? And I got to re-meet Bobby Shue, and it was so
That sounds like a
beautiful.
movie.
It was amazing.
Re-meeting Bobby Shue.
The second time I met Bobby Shue, he was so sweet though, and so generous, and like so awesome, you know. And I just got to see this totally other side of this sweet man. Now, to jump over to the other man you were talking about in that little thing, Kevin Hayes, he's on the road right now with James Taylor.
I saw that.
Isn't that amazing? He's
That
doing
is
a
so
world like
cool.
arena and like, you know, stadium tour.
I'm so happy for him.
I mean, talk about people that are connected with New Mexico and just like absolutely killing it. Kevin Hayes was one of those people that I saw on this is a series I talk about a lot on this podcast because it was kind of a catalyst for me to want to do a podcast and do this in general in my life, which was Jazz of Enchantment that Paul Ingalls and David House and Mark Webber and a bunch of people put together
Yeah.
through KUNM, honoring a lot of different jazz musicians that were associated with New Mexico. And Kevin was one of those people, but you know, I know now he's living in New York. He's back in New York, I should say, because he's from there, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a question that I love asking people on this podcast is and I'm not asking you to define the word for me, but what does it mean in your life? What does jazz mean in your life?
That is such a loaded question for me. I have an immense interest, but it also, you know, the word that comes into my head is like unattainable. Like I feel little, and I don't know why I have such a stigma around it, but I really do feel
Yeah.
it intimidates me. I never feel like, okay, there's this funny story. So I was doing this like jazz festival that the Tamaya had, and it was Kevin Hayes and Bobby Shue.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so kind of like the Rio Rancho Arts part of the newspaper, they were asked me, you know, a bunch of things in the interview. And one of the questions was, you know, do you do a lot of scatting? This was in the constraints of the interview. And I'm like, no, man, I can't scat to save my life, you know. And the next part of that was like, for me, it's kind of about phrasing, you know. That's kind of where I find that innovative kind of release. You know, I'm not really a scatter. Well, the lead line to the story that's promoting the Jazz Fest is lead singer says she can't scat to save her life. So that's just talk about just life, affirming life. Yeah. So anyways. I was pretty terrified of singing with the orchestra in the beginning, and like, you know, like they're such like intimidating people. They're all teddy bears. I'm just intimidated by the notion, but I don't know why that is, but anyway, it's loosening. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's loosening a bit.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love it so much. And I don't think that I am a jazz singer. You know, I think that I sing jazz standards, but that doesn't make me a jazz singer. I just love it. You know, I mean it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So,
Totally. Where do you see Hillary Smith in 10 years? Where would you like to see Hillary Smith in 10 years?
I mean, I hope I still have a throat. You know?
What do you mean?
I hope. Well, no, I just,
Just because you sing your ass off and you sing practically every night?
No, I don't sing every night.
I know,
No,
but
life has gotten easier. I don't have to,
work is hard.
which is cool. Yeah. In some ways, yeah. Touring's hard, though.
Oh, there's different types of hard, for sure.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But fun and important. I wouldn't trade it. I don't mean to complain. It's not, but it's,
Totally.
it's, yeah. So I hope that I have like a grandbaby or two calling me Birdie. That I'm like, teaching them how to play tambourine badly.
No, clap it
And
on
cuss
your
words
thigh.
in Spanish and
I like it.
taking them to church, showing them how to cook. I hope that that's my life, and I hope that I'm singing still, and I hope that I am on stage still in some capacity, and I hope things are friendlier than they are now.
Yeah.
I hope that we get out of this this horrible thing that we're in,
Yeah.
And it's like everything's angry. The earth is even angry, It's just heartbreaking. Not just the physical loss, but the spiritual loss, of our country. And so I'm looking forward. Everyone says that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I don't believe that that's untrue, but I do believe that it's going to get better. Yeah. That's the nature of my faith,
I agree. And if I had to interject, I think that it is bad right now because it is going to get better. Mm-hmm. And not to say that is the reason, but I mean, it's just like, we hope to see that, and we're looking for that because I, like you, feel the same way, and
I don't think we're going to have a choice but to come together as community. As divided as we were 2 years ago, I feel like there's more, in some ways, our differences have pushed us to be more moderate, because there's disappointments from both sides.
Yeah.
And it's the nature. It's the nature of things, politics in general. Not everybody's going to be happy. People are going to be real unhappy when it's not their person,
Yep.
And sometimes your person doesn't pan out to be the leader that you may have thought, so,
Yeah.
But I think we're not going to have a choice but to come together. And I'm looking forward to that. I even if it's just on let's build this little commune of trust and love, just systematically in our neighborhoods, maybe just 20 families at a time, however it takes to start building that.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. That's what I hope. So that's where I see myself. I hope I've never been able to, not that I've never been able to travel, but I haven't traveled much, and I want to do that. Starting this year. I want to go to Portland. I want to go to Seattle.
Yeah.
I want to go to New Orleans when it's not so dang hot. I want to go see Renee Marie somewhere. I want to go see Ruthie Foster somewhere. I want to go see Jill Scott somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do this year. That's what I'm, and come in the coming years. So
Beautiful.
Thanks, Sherman. You scared me when you said, "Is there anything off limits?" I didn't know what was coming. Thank you. Did you take it easy on me?
Hey, all I'm gonna say it's amazing having you on my podcast and getting to talk to you and learn about you and pick your brain. So we'll definitely do a part 2. And hey, I might dig up a couple more rocks and see what's under them.
No more digging, you. You're cut off.
Of course, I had to put a little fear in you, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't know what I know.
Hey, can I plug a thing?
Heck yeah.
So,
please.
the Beloved Community Concert is a benefit for Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
And it's Tuesday, November 27th at the African American Performing Arts Center.
Beautiful.
And it's John Kurtzwig, platinum album, Righteous, Precious, Darling, Brother John. Then there's magnanimous, Grammy Award winning Larry Mitchell, guru.
Ooh, Larry Mitchell's going to be here?
Yes.
The 27th.
Yes.
So
you better come
this
now.
coming Tuesday?
Oh, it wasn't enough that I was going to be there.
Hell.
Oh, now that Larry's coming, I'm going to be there. Whatever, off me. And then Mistress of Ceremonies. Oh, man. I'm going to forget her name. That is awful of me. I'll come back to it. Hillary Smith and Chill House is going to be there.
Whoop, whoop.
Brian Abel, Glenn Coster, Mo Roberts, Jim Casey. And Lesmans is providing backline and some stuff. And
Beautiful.
it's going to be good.
Well, I'm excited.
It's going to be good.
I will be there as
And
if I
Habitat
wasn't.
for Humanity, as you know, is, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, come on now.
I just have to gibber. There's so many sweet organizations, but that one in particular is close to my heart. And I just, the thing is that not only do they provide a space for a family that is really working to be in that space, deserving to be in that space, that example, how that perpetuates through the generations of those parents that have that children and the experience of that generosity, it can't help but just keep creating that and keep demonstrating that love and that generosity.
That's right.
If they're paying attention, and anyway, it is so important. It's really important. So I hope everybody will come out to that. And so you can go to the Habitat for Humanity in Albuquerque. You can go to that website. I wish I knew what it was right now.
I'll put a link in this podcast.
Oh, right on. Okay. That'd be really cool. And you can get all the information and buy tickets.
Yeah, beautiful.
Cool, man.
Beautiful.
Hey, brother.
It's awesome.
Thank you. You were so
my
not
dear.
scary.
Oh, come on
I thought
now.
you were going to be scary.
I wasn't going to bite. I'm not that bad.
I know you're all like, is anything off? Is anything off? Like in your Barry White voice.
The reason I had to ask is because I asked that to every one of my podcast guests. Because I had it happen to me where one of my friends, I said that to him and he joked at me. He's like, no, you can ask me anything. Like, is there anything you can't ask me? And then I came to the conversation and I was asking him stuff that he had previously told me that I wanted to kind of pull out of him. And it's almost like he didn't want to let go of that information,
Yeah.
And I had to put a pause and be like, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't know that, and he's like, hey, it's just, I don't want the perception to be this. And, he had his reasons for why he wasn't about it. But,
Yeah, man.
I just know to some extent, maybe there's something personal in someone's life. Like my friend didn't want me to bring up his family because he's having some family issues. It's like, I respect that. But just to know that stuff allows me to not veer head on into traffic. And,
you know what? Everybody knows I'm wacky and I'm spacey. So
that's why we love you, though. You're like so amazing and wacky
Not
in the best
everybody.
way.
Not everybody.
Who you talking about? Who you talking about, Willis?
Oh, I'll tell you.
All fair. All right. Thank you so much, Hillary Smith, for being
sure,
on.
baby.
And until the next time, I'm going to put some of your music for hONEyhoUSe or whoever you'd like me to put on and kind of, embed this within the podcast so we can
Okay.
get a little bit of your voice as we say goodbye, all right?
Okay.
All right, my dear. Until the next time.
Okay, brother.
All right now.
See you later.
Oh, yeah. Thank y'all so much for listening. We're going to listen right now to a tune called Helicopter from hONEyhoUSe's album, Sweep. I had the wonderful pleasure of getting to go and record this album with them, well, just this song and another, over at Wall of Sound with Mr. John Wall. So sit back and enjoy hONEyhoUSe playing Helicopter.
How is it so easy for you to walk yourself right out my door? Just this summer you spoke of love, now you don't want me anymore. Does it please you to see me crashing and burn? The wine you left behind ain't no use. I think I'll get dressed up, head on out to church, wearing some high-heel forgiveness shoes. Goodbye, I'm high, it's alright now. I'm in my helicopter. helicopter. Times in life you gotta rise above to get the courage to look down. I could never hate you, watch me elevating while you're still on the ground. Much obliged for the road trip, darling, and the slow dancing in the sand. I miss the hummingbirds on your back porch. Lord knows I miss my handyman. Goodbye, I'm high, it's alright now. I'm in my helicopter. Below, you're cold, I'm in control. I'm in my helicopter. Above all that trouble, above all that mess, I got eagle-eye vision, and they I suggest you come up here on your own sometime. Figure your sweet self out, sugar, find your mind. Discover why you burn cold and hot. I'm precious, you see, whether I'm yours or not. Goodbye, I'm high, it's alright now. I'm in my helicopter, yeah. Below, you're cold, I'm in control. I'm in my helicopter. Everything looks so small from up here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now we're going to listen to another tune from Miss Hillary Smith. Now this next tune is from an album that she put out with the Soul Commitment Choir, titled On Higher Ground. The song we're going to listen to is entitled Will You Be Ready? But the whole album, for you to go check out, just so you know how badass it is, features Russell White, Arnaldo Acosta, Andy Poling, Mr. Kanoa Kalahiva, Milo Jaramillo, Gerald Lujan, Gene Hodge, the Mackey family, the White family, Mr. Demi DeSanti, Steve Figueroa, and Mr. Scott Jarrett engineered it. So I definitely recommend you go find that, or next time you see Hillary playing live, ask her how you can get this album. This is a beautiful tune titled Will You Be Ready?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Better make up your mind. The peaceful place that you once knew is getting harder to find. And time again, you say you change. You know your life you rearrange. Brother, don't deliberate. Tomorrow might be too late. To meet Jesus out of heaven.
this life. You got to live and learn. See, I once was lost, but now I'm bound. Free from chains, no longer bound. So lift your hands up to the sky. I think I'm in glorified. To meet Jesus at a heaven's door. You are the woman I need. I thought, don't you know that? To live forevermore. When it all comes down on you, when it's all unfair, he is standing close beside, asking, man, he's there. You gotta believe he's real right now. Believe and cast your burden down. I give your life to him, I give it today.